what I've speculated to myself and to my readers over the past 6 months is, hey, what if Bitcoin stagnation here is a result of the dollar system re-strengthening? So if you were getting long Bitcoin over the past 5 to 10 years because you saw the dollar system diluting itself, money printing everywhere, bank bailouts, fiscal deficits to the tune of $10 trillion over the course of 5 years post-pandemic, these are all reasons that you'd want to own something that benefits from money printing. But what if the opposite is happening? Shouldn't you be rolling back your pro-Bitcoin thesis in light of a strengthening dollar system? The dollar getting stronger, the debt to GDP not climbing higher, as it has not climbed higher for 5 years now. It's leveling off. These are all, oh, and what about interest rates being not at zero anymore? Well, Bitcoin did very well with rates at zero, but what about rates at 5%? What about 4%? Is Bitcoin meant for that? Maybe it's not. So I want to always present the other side of the argument to, for people that are angry, you can even pile on to that anger that, hey, not only is Bitcoin not doing well, but it might not even fit the same role in global macro anymore that you thought it did 5 to 10 years ago. The people at the end that are left over and are pro Bitcoin or advocating for Bitcoin in a portfolio, that's us. Now it's just people like us. And so then I ask myself, would you like to own Bitcoin today at $70,000 or sell it for IPOs that are going to hit the market this year, or sell it for the S&P 500? And when I conduct that analysis, I still end up on the Bitcoin side. So to answer your question, it's okay that people are angry, but what would I tell them? I would tell them that my analysis still values Bitcoin as an excellent asset to own over the long term, because I feel that overall credit creation of the world's fiat system is not slowing down.
Yeah, and it can't, like over the long run. I think it just has to run. I'm curious because it was just a couple of days ago actually, when this comes out, maybe already a few weeks, the SpaceX IPO, and so many people are interested in that SpaceX IPO. I want to get your thoughts on, because when I look at that, I'm like, I see a company that is not profitable, that is already the 5th biggest stock like a week after IPOing. And I'm like, why are people piling into that? Like, even if you think about it logically, what is the total addressable market for a stock? Like, you being the number one stock is, for me, is like the logical reasoning. It just has a 2x from here to being the number one stock, or maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what exactly the market cap is now. But it doesn't have that much run rate to being the biggest just a couple of days after the IPO. And people are piling in, the same as like everyone seems to buy Nvidia now. I don't argue that like 10 years ago it would have been an amazing buy. Even 5 years ago, Nvidia would have been an amazing buy. But it seems to be like people have that amazing ability to buy the top and this very horrible ability to buy something when it's like laying on the ground, it's bleeding, it doesn't look very attractive, it needs to be picked up again. How do you look at like everyone piling into like SpaceX and the other IPOs that will probably come this year, versus Bitcoin seems to be like an amazing value and has way less risk and way more upside than those stocks, and they like, I don't touch it, like I don't like it.
Let's start with Nvidia instead of SpaceX and Bitcoin, which I'll get to. But I want to start with Nvidia because it's important to discuss it. Nvidia is the largest company in the world today by market cap, and its earnings and revenue growth are off the charts, as well as their profit margin. So it has earned its spot as the number one equity by market cap, I believe. And it's probably still an excellent buy today, looking forward over the next few years. This is not an investment recommendation for Nvidia. I personally don't own individual tech names. So, that's the disclaimer here, is that I'm not long Nvidia. So I'm long US stocks, broadly speaking, as a basket. So Nvidia, not only is it earned its market cap, but it's also probably cheap looking forward. It might not be cheap for today's valuation, today's revenue, today's earnings, but looking forward 2, 3, 5 years, it's probably still a very good buy. It probably has a lot of room to run. I would echo that with some of the other large tech names, the AI hyperscalers, however you want to call them, anybody involved in the data center economics, whether on the chip side or the housing side, the cloud side, all the typical names are in there. And they're all mostly, to me, probably still good buys looking a couple years forward. On the SpaceX side, I would say that SpaceX at 2 trillion is probably also a really good buy, but how many years forward? And that question, there's no way I can answer that. I'm not even going to try. So when people bid up the IPO in its behavior, this is classic behavior. So there's an idea that's very popular and is likely to grow, or a business line that's likely to grow and grow and grow for years to come. And then that growth, people look forward and they price in that growth and they bring it back to today. And they say, well, I would love to own it, in 5 years, 10 years, I think it can make all this money. So I don't mind paying hundreds of times earnings or 100 times revenue. I don't mind paying that today because eventually this position will work out. We saw this in Facebook's IPO. We've seen this in many IPOs over the years, where the initial hype is so much, people rush in, and then insiders dump because it's too easy to then monetize new wealth. We see SpaceX immediately go out and buy Cursor for $60 billion. It's an all equity deal. They don't have to spend a dime on it. They just print their stock and send it out. And in that way, they acquire this enormous asset for free. And it is for free because they just print the shares. So yes, they dilute the existing shareholders, but they acquire the asset with the new paper wealth that they have driven up for themselves. So what do I think about people piling into the IPO? Classic herd mentality behavior. Those that are doing so knowing that, hey, I'm not going to trade this for 5 years. Maybe when it goes down in a year, I'll buy more. Maybe it won't, and I'll just ride the position out, but I'm comfortable to buy it. Then you have a cohort of investors that says, SpaceX is the hottest IPO of all time. I'm going to chase returns and I'm going to leverage long. I'm going to do whatever I can to ride the Elon wave. I saw what happened in Tesla. I don't want to miss it again. I'm going all in. And if they do it with leverage, there's a high chance that they'll get completely wrecked, taken out of their entire position, and obliterated by the market and basic behavioral tendencies of a bubble. So the reason I start with Nvidia, Robin, is to show you that I don't think AI is a bubble, and I don't think the US stock market is a bubble. I don't think Nvidia is way too expensive. SpaceX will join that cohort or is in the process of doing so. So it will dilute the value a little bit in the short term of what you're getting when you pay for US technology companies, because Nvidia, you're paying 20 times sales. I'm making a number, but it's somewhere around there. You're paying 20 times sales. For a few of these other companies, you're paying 5, 3, 5, 7 times sales. I'm thinking about Micron or even Amazon. You're not paying that much versus sales. And then SpaceX, you're paying 2 trillion for 20 billion in sales. So there's obviously an enormous delta between the established companies and the new one. But it's not, to me, the SpaceX chase is not the sign that we are in the late stages of an AI bubble. It's actually evidence to me that we are in the early stages of a continued capital cycle. Because if you see the way it performed in the first few days, it means the appetite was so large that it can't find its way into the capital. And most of the sell side is still locked up. So the people that actually have the shares, they cannot sell the shares. They can't monetize their wealth yet. And so you get this technical dynamic that drives the price up in the short term. But I do believe that the price is reflecting overall supply of capital that wants to come into this market. Bitcoin doesn't have the revenue or earnings numbers to associate it with it. So it's just a commodity. And when you're looking at just a commodity in a world in which everyone is obsessed over future revenues, it makes sense that Bitcoin is being shunned. Because when did Bitcoin do well? When the economy was flatlining at 2%, money printing was still going, rates were still zero, and Bitcoin got all this energy. Is like, what else are you going to own? Own Bitcoin. ECB deposit rates are negative 40 basis points. Why wouldn't you own Bitcoin? Even Elon said that. I can't remember. I think it was maybe his Tesla Euro balance at some point. He says, why am I holding Euro at the bank at negative 40 basis points? I'm just going to buy Bitcoin with it. So the opposite is now true, where you have 4 or 5% hurdle rates on the risk-free side. US treasuries, even German bonds are at 3%. So you have nominal returns. In many ways, there are also real returns, because if inflation is at 3 to 4 and rates are at 4.5, that's still a positive real return on your capital. Then you have double-digit earnings growth at the S&P 500 level, and I'm actually being modest. It's closer to 30% earnings growth at the S&P 500 level. So why wouldn't you want to own equities that are benefiting from an explosion in present and future cash flows? Bitcoin doesn't look attractive in that environment, and so it is hated right now. That's not me saying that Bitcoin isn't cheap or that Bitcoin is still expensive. No, actually, on a historic basis, Bitcoin is very cheap. It's bloodied, like you said. And that is an attractive time to buy an asset class if you understand what Bitcoin is and its role. But broadly, are people attracted by Bitcoin just because it's below 70? I don't think so, especially when the alternative is all these companies that are changing the world very rapidly.
Yeah. And it's fun because I almost forgot about it. Like SpaceX, with that, it also came out that SpaceX owned 18,000 Bitcoin.
Yes.
which we kind of knew before that they're holding Bitcoin. I think this was like kind of rumored. I think it was not confirmed. I'm not sure about that. But it came out, and now it's in the filings, and now SpaceX is a publicly traded company and is in the list of the, I don't know, top 10 publicly traded companies that hold Bitcoin, which I think didn't get any attention. I didn't hear any. I saw Michael Saylor tweeting once about it, and like two other people, but it's like, oh, like it's almost a forgotten news that SpaceX, one of the biggest companies on planet Earth now, like the fifth biggest ones, holds 18,000 Bitcoin. I think it's a tremendous story. I personally think for Bitcoin.
Yes, and I've actually written a report. I'm publishing it soon, and in this report, the opening thesis here, because it's a Bitcoin and AI investment themes report, that the opener is this idea that you have the most successful IPO of all time, which is in part an AI company, owning 18,000 Bitcoin. It tells you where the capital is and where it's going today. And, in terms of the investment themes for people to take away, it is AI and Bitcoin. This is where the money is, I think, best situated. Where is it flowing right now? It's flowing to AI. And flow is the determinant of price. It always has been. And so Bitcoin's price is suffering because its flow is suffering. But when its flow turns back on, you'll see the price rise again. And for us to know when that happens, it's very difficult. But I have speculated of late that the energy won't come back until the IPO wave has resolved itself. There's too much appetite. There is too much appetite. I said too much appetite before the SpaceX IPO, but the post-price reaction shows you the appetite is crazy. And I didn't buy it. I can't justify that valuation, but I do have, I do have a healthy, positive outlook and allocation to U.S. equities broadly. So I will end up owning SpaceX through my exposure. That will happen naturally. That doesn't mean I'm going to be the one chasing that ticker on an individual basis. And I do feel, this is my opinion now, I do feel that SpaceX will show that, insider dump, and that people that bought day one will be underwater for weeks or months until it comes back. So that's, my baseline expectation. And who knows what, who knows what individual investments that I'll make, going forward. But I do like to be transparent with people.
I like that also. I like that. That's really cool. Yeah, SpaceX is an interesting one. There's actually, before I came into Bitcoin, I was big in stocks. And so I studied IPOs a little bit, and a lot of them are actually down over the first year. If you look at them, like how they perform, they usually have some hype in the beginning, and then usually they think off. And that's what I hope, actually, because I'm a huge SpaceX fan. I just can't buy it at such a high price. It's like the reward is not as tremendous as I want it to be for the risk that I'm taking. But if it falls 50, 80%, not saying that it will, but if it falls attractive valuation, I'm like the last person that says no, because I'm a huge Tesla and SpaceX fan. Thank you for watching this video. This was only a snippet of the podcast. And if you want to watch the full episode and get all of the context of this episode, you can click right here or here. Oh, maybe also here.